when would you need a second node for initial value? When do we need to duplicate this initial value?
We have the temperature and another temperature.
When? When do we need another set of initial values? Hmm? At a point? Initial value is applied.
No, not the point. I think at another.
Yeah. So in transient problems, if you have this domain initially at this temperature and that domain initially at that temperature, I need to start the simulation with this hotter than this. Okay, في هالحالة ما أحتاج. But if I go to the initial stationary, it shows both HT2 and HT. So I'll say I don't want to solve this. واضح? We'll delete this altogether. So the stationary step with this. Sometimes you need to solve for the fluid flow and forget about the temperature. والعكس صحيح. Values a dependent variable. شنو extension, whatever, adaptation, mesh. If you have more than one mesh, I want to test two types of mesh. The initial mesh that I did, which I'll call mesh A, and then another type of mesh, I'll duplicate this, and instead of mesh A user controlled, size the normal, I'll say mesh 2, mesh A, mesh B. Mesh B is مو fluid dynamics, general physics, ولكن extra fine. And this was normal, normal or extra fine. So in the solution step, you need to specify which mesh do you want, mesh A or mesh B. Well, no mesh, which is useless. Okay. Okay. Adaptation, if you discover that your solution, we'll do it later in fluid flow. Solver configuration, you can add show default solver, and you can play with options هني. We'll look at it later. Break, direct one, ولا fully coupled, والأشياء هذه, method and termination. Sometimes you need to mess with these Newton method, or we'll look at it like in a month or so. Or just reset initial, we could get initial values or resets. And you could do parametric study, we'll talk about it later. طبعا ماكو results. Okay, so if I do this and say compute, it takes about a couple of seconds, and you end up with a temperature. Nice. You can say that again. 4 seconds. Takes you a lifetime to do it by hand. This accurately, at least. So there you go. Temperature هني Kelvin ولا Celsius? Kelvin. Temperature Kelvin. ولكن I could do هني automatic. I could have a temperature. I can expand it and say set as a surface. Well, how did it do this? These are by default. It's all by default. So generate default results while solving. Probes. I could do results while solving. ولكن I could do results هني by default. Generate default somewhere in here. Generate default plots. Okay, I don't want to generate default plots. طبعا I always want to generate default plots. These are the solution. This is a data set. Okay, you can export it if you want, but I'm going to delete this. Everything zeroed out. Nothing remained. هذا وهني هذا بس كذي. هذا الحين قاعد فاضي. It's empty. No real information, just a color block. If I do this and do not hit this, I'm going to show you the reason I'm doing this to come up with this temperature. And I compute, I'll get a solution and no results. So I have to do them manually. Right click, 2D plot. You want a 2D plot, عدل. But 2D plot شنو ما في شيء. There's nothing to plot. I have to add a surface plot, not an arrow surface plot, not a line, not a contour, not a streamline, not an arrow, not a mesh. Okay, I need a surface plot. شنو temperature? Yeah, temperature. You could أبي اليو مثلا temperature velocity. هني velocity ماكو velocity magnitude لأن there's no fluid flow. I need temperature. Well, temperature you have more than a couple of options. You have weighted average temperature, whatever, and then temperature T اللي هو the primary unknown عندنا. Okay. وبعدين في temperature gradient. كل هذا temperature that happens is a keyword. Well, temperature gradient magnitude وال temperature for density evaluation. عادي شنو هذه؟ أدري شنو هذه؟ Temperature for temperature. When you have density evaluation, density as a function of temperature, then this is the thing. This is the variable T uses. And here I want the temperature. I'll double click this, and it will give me T. Anything you see here, like the fluid flux here, you can go to equation view and see temperature. Temperature. If I temperature HT meaning النوع الفيزيكس وبعدين temperature in the U direction ولا X direction ولا whatever. I don't know what U stands for. In all cases I could do this, but now I have to, instead of surface temperature, I don't want this, so I'll go to the plot and say and I'll say show legend, show legend. Maximum and minimum, it gives you this maximum and minimum, and show units for me. Well, I don't show units, and I could have it at the bottom. Actually, right, ahsan, the best way to do it. And plot area, plot edges. Well, I don't plot edges. If I don't plot edges, it will not give me the edges, the black edges. Show hidden entities. Yeah. There's a hidden entity. I can unshow it. I can hide it. There is a way. Hold on. I forgot how to do it. You can hide these. Maybe with view. Yeah, you will click around and see how to view this. Yeah, so again, if you do this, if you delete this and solve again, solution, generate default plot, you'll get the same thing. Actually, you'll get isotherms. And then you could get isotherms اللي هما 2D plot ولكن contours. And then I can add contours هني. I can add contours. I can add streamlines, but there's no U and V velocity. And then I'm not solving flow equation. So contours of what? Contours of temperature. You can have contours of velocity magnitude for a fluid flow, or concentration in chemical species transport. And then number of levels, whatever plot, it will be like this. You color them by. What do you color them by? Coloring, color table, uniform. Oh, uniform. I could color legend, quality. How do you color them? Yeah, you color them by temperature. Like when you have contours of velocity, you can color them by temperature as well, or color them uniform color. Okay, or color them by velocity magnitude. You can also reverse color table, and you can do symmetric, يصعدون ينزلون, and so on and so forth. You can increase the level, number of levels, or the levels. I'll say I want at from 330 to 370, so I want 330, 340, 350, and 366. Okay. And I plot this and I'll get these for, you will need it for the homework because I specifically ask you. Or you could do this button and I'll say number of values. You start at minimum, which is what, 330 or 329, and you stop at 367 or 68, and I need 5 values or 6 values or whatever. You can apply a function. So if it's too high from 0 to 1000 and I want to see the smallest temperature, I can apply a function, scale it up and down, and I'll replace whatever written here, or I can add it, or I can replace it so that these are removed. I can replace this and then I'll add the 3, I'll do this 370, well 365 and 365.4.6 and 366 and 366.5. If I plot this, I think the 3 limit. Fine? So you could play with this as you see fit, or just the number of levels. 10, 50, and it's okay. Or I could skip this and delete this, or I could take this and throw it in here. نفس الشيء. Oh, contour. وين الكونتور؟ level labels. لا مو level label. Number of color table. I'll do this after this. ليش شو المشكلة؟ شو ما أدري. Number of levels. Title line filled. سوالي كذي. Fill outside. No, don't fill outside. Color table. Reverse symmetric. I don't know what happened. There's no undo. I don't know what happened here. نشيل هذا ونقطه هنا. Oh, maybe this thing is different. Black, show legend. I'll throw this here. I lost something, okay? You figure it out. Anyway, just keep this. If I disable this, and I click plot, it will activate again. So if you want to really disable it, don't click plot unless you're here or here. Okay, so if you click this, it will activate again. And activation, I don't know, شنو المشكلة. Uniform red, maybe blue.